Carry a song of joy in your heart, and may we all be one. Thank you, and good night.
What I saw coming in to land was a certain sizable base on the surface in which there's a large landing platform. You know, it's kind of terraced up from the ground, actually, from the surface of the lunar surface. And the platform, oh goodness, I mean, you could have put 3 or 4 of these things down on top of there. I mean, so it was probably almost a square mile, you know, size platform to which to land things on, or, you know, at least almost half that or more. And then there were some smaller vehicles kind of lined up in a row, a few, you know, almost like Quonset hut type buildings, but they were huge. They were really big, but they had kind of a rounded feature. And then a couple of very large, squarish rectangular buildings that didn't really seem anything extraordinary, unusual. And then once inside, a number of hallways, elevators that clearly went down to the subsurface below the actual lunar surface. And times that I was there and the areas in which I got to see that the place is absolutely massive, that at least that station where I was at was at least the size of a medium city, at least, and that there's probably more than one of those medium, you know, size city complexes on the backside of the moon that we have something to do with, and that are terrestrial controlled. But they're also, it's, from what I understand, because the backside of the moon has been used for so long by so many different species, it's kind of like Antarctica. Like, it has these different areas where different countries and people can say, well, we've got this area and we've got this, and everyone kind of respects everyone's claim or area. So there are a number of areas that have been habitated by different ETs, you know, who've had bases there for a long time, and they're not going anywhere, apparently. And whether people are friendly or hostile, it's kind of a neutral territory. So there's places where those who don't get along with others can be not too far from each other, but they don't attack each other, and they don't, you know, they respect each other's sort of neutral space there on the backside of the moon for whatever reason that the contracts and the diplomatic arrangement is for that. I think it's because it goes back such a very, very long time that everyone respects it. And I think, from what I also understand, there's been a couple of times when war did come to the backside of the moon, and it was bad enough in such a way that everyone said, no, not here. This is neutral space for everybody to do whatever they need to do, but we can't fight here, or else, you know, we could risk losing the whole thing to somebody else or something. So I think that was sort of the deal. So it's a pretty interesting mix of who's there, what's there, where's there, what's spread out over, just from what I've seen and what has been discussed with me, but clearly not even all of what is there and what's known about it has been part of my knowledge or my purview or what I've been briefed on.
Well, you can tell it's been built and added onto quite a bit since the 50s. It's built into into the craters and into the rocky area to where it blends in somewhat. Some part of it is built into the rock. Very little of it is above ground. Most of it I have not had access to. I have seen a diagram to where it is somewhat goes into a bell shape. Further and further down you go. And I've only had access to the upper levels. It's like looking down at the top of the bell or the tip of a pyramid. You just see the smaller top, or the tip of the iceberg, I guess you would say. The rest is below. and spreads out as it goes down. There's actually another base on the backside of the moon that belongs to human beings. It belongs to one of the secret space programs called Dark Fleet that a lot of people see craft coming from. That I can give more of a location of that one. If you're looking at the moon, it's at about the 10 o'clock position. People have filmed and seen flurries and swarms of craft leaving and coming from that area quite a bit. Amateur astronomers with video cameras hooked up to their telescopes. This is something that has been seen. The L.O.C. was built onto an existing Nazi facility that had been built in the latter parts of the 30s and 40s, that far back. Once the industrial might of the United States became involved, they really started putting a lot into it and built it out like crazy. They started really building in earnest in the late 50s on it. The moon is a very strict zone that is like a giant Switzerland. If you've seen sort of the maps of Antarctica, how it's it's sliced up amongst all the nations, the back of the moon is that way too. And all these different regions are pretty much owned and inhabited by different ET groups. And there are some groups that have bad blood or have warred with each other going back many, many, many thousands of years. But they have installations that are just a couple kilometers away from each other. And they have been there for many thousands of years in peace. There's some sort of diplomatic agreement about the moon. There's something very special about the moon being a very diplomatic, neutral zone. Well, until recently, I had never been to the VIP area. I had always been to just the area to where they have, small, kind of not really apartments, but small little dwellings to where it has, 2 to 4 bunks. The halls are real narrow. You move over to the VIP area, the halls are wider. There's wood paneling on the walls, like cherry wood, nice walls, very upscale. It's a dramatic change when you go from one area to the VIP area. Well, you're allowed certain areas. There are marks on the paint lines on the floor, lines on the floor of different color that lead to different areas. And like I said, I've only been the top floors where most of everything takes place. The bottom two, the next 2 floors were the medical and some other more advanced medical stuff take place. I have never been further down than those. There are some people recently that have been taken on a tour that have gotten to see a lot more than I have. There are some people that are stationed there and work there, but it's more of a way station. People are coming and going from it all the time to go to their further out into the solar system and beyond, to go out to other stations, other bases, to go out to their assigned vessels.
Big base, big multi-level, multi-layer base that has areas that were built back in the 50s. I mean, you can tell by the building materials, the metal construction, the sort of even like the cast metal parts on the locks and doors and airlocks and things, and carpet, wall, paint, all these building materials, lighting fixtures, doorways, lit signs over doorways and things that, half the time you feel like you're walking, through a really old military base that was built in the 40s or 50s and has all this old hardware still that hasn't been upgraded. I remember walking down to the administration section and noticing how ratty the carpet was. It was like from the 60s or the 70s, and they hadn't put new carpet down on the floor in decades, and it was just this ratty old yellow carpet that looked like, and even the chairs along the walls and stuff looked like they were from a doctor's office from 1972. So it's a weird conglomeration of areas and levels of stuff that was built way back. They haven't even bothered to upgrade the frickin' carpet, versus other areas which are so advanced that you'd think you just walked into the future. So you could literally go from one end to the other and feel like you walked through time from 1947 to 2035 based on what you're surrounded by and what everything looks like. It's a trip. Actually, a whole bunch of stuff within the last year that we've been able to see on the light side that they want us to see now. They've taken the cloaking shield off, and so now we can go, oh, hey, how did that get there? So that's part of this, oh, look up there if you're looking, part of the disclosure aspect of stuff that we're learning about the moon. So while we were totally fixated on all these photographs coming back from Mars, there was a whole crap load of stuff that was being released about the moon last year that went by most people, including what I think is one of my favorites. The Chinese lunar lander landed, took a bunch of pictures, and NASA published a bunch of photos on its website. And one of the photos was picked out by people going, hey, what's that building over there? There's like a base or a structure. Did the Chinese build that? And then NASA had to admit, oh, oops, we're sorry. Our mistake. That wasn't a photo from the Chinese lunar lander. We accidentally somehow got a photo out of the old Apollo lander and accidentally got it into this other series of photographs. And so that's actually from the 1969 Apollo lander. Our bad. And I just thought that was the most hilarious thing in the world.
This project has to do with, we're about to start ad campaigns, guerrilla marketing campaigns, not towards our own community that's already awake, but towards the masses that are out there that, still have the giggle factor programmed if they hear anything alien or UFO. So, we need to come together because we need people that hold on to the nuts and bolts kind of information, interview people that have credentialed information. Those are the kind of people we're going to need to present. That's kind of information we're going to need to present to the mainstream people in the beginning. If we come to them with all these different ideologies that we have, it's just not going to go well. They're going to have to go through the same process that we did of waking up, and we're going to have to let them wake up on their own at their own pace. But also we need to realize that if we do a project like this and present nuts and bolts information to the public, that it will start bringing the public to all of our information eventually. So, we all have something to gain in it. And what we have to gain is putting aside our differences that keep us at each other's throats and focus on what we all want, which is the truth, which none of us have an embargo on, and none of us, can say we fully know.